Hello, hey, how are you? Welcome to this week's bonus episode of Guided. I am so thrilled that you're here. What a dream, what a delight. Right at the top of the episode, I just wanted to let you know that we are trying something new this week. So this is not only a audio podcast, but there is also a visual film element. So if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, you might want to hop over to Spotify. You might want to hop over to YouTube. If you would like to see or watch this, rather, if you would like to watch this as a little bit of a visual podcast video vibe. You might not want to. You might prefer to just have me in your ears. That is totally fine. You carry on as normal. But I just wanted to let you know, in case you were thinking, yeah, I want to watch something whilst I'm eating my lunch, whilst I'm, you know, having a bath. I watch a lot of YouTube in the bath, which perhaps might be an overshare. Now it feels weird that I'm asking to be in the bath with you. You know what I'm saying. Wherever you're relaxing this weekend, perhaps, or whenever you're watching this, take me with you. Enjoy the visual element. That being said, this is brand new. I'm just learning how to do some visual edits. So if some of the edits are a little bit hard, I ask for your grace. Hopefully, you won't notice them. Second bit of housekeeping that I want to get straight into. This might sound different and weird, this podcast that you're listening to. It might sound a little bit strange. I'm not entirely sure how good, perfect, wonderful the audio is going to be this week. That's because I was meant to be moving house today. Newsflash, I'm not. I was meant to be moving house then the week after, so a week today. That has just been cancelled, and currently we don't have a date for moving, but everything is packed. Nearly everything is packed. And so, where I would usually record the podcast is no longer a good podcast recording space because there aren't enough soft furnishings around, and that sound is bouncing all over the place. So, we're trying something new today. We're going to give it a go, and hopefully, it won't be too distracting. Thirdly, wow, the housekeeping list is quite long. Thirdly, I am thrilled to be sharing this bonus episode with you. Let me share why this episode has come about. Guided, this podcast launched about 6 weeks ago at the time of this episode going live. I have been so overwhelmed, so overjoyed with how it has been received. I could not be more grateful for all of the incredible feedback, for all the listens. At the time of recording this, we have just hit 350 listens. That's amazing. That is so, so cool. And I am just so grateful for that. The feedback has been so wicked. It's been super positive. The only kind of constructive feedback that I've had is that the episodes are too short, which is, you know, just delightful to hear that you guys want more of me rather than less. So I thought perhaps this week, on the day that I should have been moving house, so my day is quite free, I thought, hey, let's record a bonus episode, a longer, chattier, more informal, maybe, perhaps a little more relaxed bonus episode. And you guys can tell me if you think this is more enjoyable or way worse. I'd love to know either way. You know I love your opinion. And send it me in a DM if you think it's not great. If you think it's brilliant, please go ahead and leave me a review. That would really, really, really mean the world to me. And make sure that you hit subscribe because that does so much for the old algorithm and helps other people just like you discover Guided. How exciting. Is that all of the housekeeping? Yes, I think it is. I was actually just listening to Jenna Ocean's podcast, Little Ritual. If you haven't heard of it, it's a fantastic podcast. I was on it, I think last year, perhaps the year before. And Jenna was saying that she was going to record it. She recorded this week's episode in one take, a one take wonder. And I thought, wow, I would love to give that a go. As an Enneagram type one, I'm already aware of 4 mistakes that I would like to edit out. Am I going to leave them in there? Am I not? That is for you to find out. I guess we'll see where all the yapping takes me. And hopefully it'll be a one take wonder and there won't be too many harsh edits. Maybe there will be. What an exciting time that we're living in. What I really, really wanted to talk to you, what I really, really wanted to talk to you about today, see, there we go, a mistake already, is liminal space. I don't know if you've ever heard of liminal space. I first heard of liminality maybe about 5 or 6 years ago via Suzanne Stabile, who was talking about Richard Rohr, and his she shared a quote of his that just blew my mind, and then I went on to read lots of Richard Rohr books. So if you would like any Richard Rohr spirituality recommendations, hey, I am your girl. But I wanted to talk about that feeling of liminality, the existing of liminal space, what it is to be all up in that. That is the meat of today's episode. Just before I do that, I've actually just remembered there is one more piece of housekeeping. Sophie, my dog, who is off camera, literally just let out a sigh as I said that. I get it. 4 pieces of housekeeping before we even get going is maybe a lot. Blessings if you're still here. Just really quickly, because I'm so excited to tell you, I just wanted to remind you in about a week and a half's time, my seasonal reset online meditation and journaling class is happening on the 28th of October. It is £30. It's at 7 p.m. But if you can't make it, a recording will be sent out. And this is a class that is absolutely based on my sellout meditation and journaling classes from last year. The classes last year were so, so beautiful. They are some of my favorite pieces of work I've ever had the privilege of doing, sharing, and holding space with. The classes were all about being engaged with the season that we find ourselves in and using meditation and journaling and the Enneagram, our Enneagram type, to really connect in to what nature is doing. Those classes were amazing. They were Sheffield based, so they were a little bit inaccessible because if you're not in Sheffield, if you perhaps have children, I know quite a few people with children who couldn't come, and if you have a chronic illness, as you know, I'm a chronic healer. I'm a chronic well person now. I'm a person that has lived with multiple chronic illnesses since the age of 19. So I know that sometimes in-person events are not super accessible. Also, if you don't live in the UK, if you don't live in the north of England, also very inaccessible. So I wanted to find a way this year to make the class more accessible for everybody and anybody that wanted to be involved. And my way of doing that was to take the class online. And that class is taking place in about a week and a half's time on the 28th of October. If you love to meditate, love to journal, can never find the time, if you don't know how to meditate, don't know how to journal, would like to learn, if you want to feel more connected to the season that you find yourself in, if you need to let go of some stuff that is weighing you down, if you are ready to release overthinking and overwhelm and procrastination and chaos, and if you would like to welcome in ease and grace and peace and love, this class is for you. Knowing your Enneagram type before you come to the class would be helpful. I have a free quiz. It's in the show notes. You can do that now. If you've never done any Enneagram type work before, it's totally okay. Nearly everybody that came to the classes last year had never done anything to do with the Enneagram before. Everybody had a great time. The reviews were wicked. So if those things are kind of speaking to you now, please scroll down through the show notes, find the link, send me a DM if you want more information. But I would love to invite you to the seasonal reset class. I think it's a really, really, really wise and lovely investment to gift yourself that time and that space this season to really let go, just like the leaves in autumn on the trees, and make way for what's next for you, to set those intentions, to show up for yourself, to take really good care of yourself and therefore everybody else in your life. I'd love to invite you to come and join us in that. It's going to be very, very beautiful. I would love to see you there. Okay, back to the meat. Let's talk about liminal space, because that is where I find myself in today, quite literally. I am in a very big moment of transition. I am a little bit displaced by the transition. Before we jump into the liminality conversation, let me just read to you Richard Raw's quote, one of my favorite quotes by Richard Raw. Let's jump into that. Liminal space is a place of transition, where we are betwixt and between, in transition, having left one room or one stage of life, but have not yet entered the next. Liminal space is always an experience of displacement in the hope of a new point of view. Lovely. What a lovely, wonderful quote that you might want to sit and try and wrap your brain around with. I know the first time I read that, I took a long time to kind of try and grasp that and grapple with that. I'm going to read it one more time. Liminal spaces are spaces of transition, where we are betwixt and between, in transition, having left one room or one stage of life, but not yet entered the next. Liminal space is always an experience of displacement in the hope of a new point of view. There are a few different ways to kind of describe and think of liminal space. Moving house is a really good one. Being pregnant is a really visual one. Standing with one foot outside of your front door and one foot in your hallway is a really great visual, physical experience. In fact, if you're listening to it now, go and stand in between two rooms and just let your body feel how that feels. It feels uncomfortable. It feels strange. It feels like, why on earth have I paused here? Why am I here? What am I doing? It feels strange. There's a sense of displacement, as Richard Raw so eloquently put it. And that is where a lot of us can find ourselves. If you've been with me for a while, if you've been with me, excuse me, from the beginning, you might have read my blog post, the blog post that has been most read out of all my blog posts about liminal space. I'll link that here as well, if you in the show notes, if you'd like to read it. But liminal space is a really, really big part of my journey because it's a place I feel like I've had lots of access to because of my life experiences. And I find myself again in liminality, in a liminal space of being packed up in my home that is no longer mine because somebody else is buying it, but it is still kind of mine right now. But I'm about to move house and live somewhere completely new. So I'm not really at home right now. I'm sat in a very weird place trying to do my work. There are boxes everywhere. Everything is packed. I can't do the normal day-to-day things because most things are packed away. Liminal space, a place of transition, a sense of displacement. And it's hard. And it's not hard that I'm moving house. That's a privilege and a joy. It is hard engaging with liminal space when you know that Richard Raw and many other very intelligent people think that liminal spaces are the only teachable place in all of the universe, in all of existence. That this place of liminality is the place that we learn best. It's the best place to learn. It's the most teachable space. So therefore, my question all the time, every moment, every day that the move gets pushed back, another day and another day and another day, every question is, well, what am I learning? Because this is the only teachable space. And I want to be learning all the time. You know, I love personal growth. You know, I love personal development. In fact, I think it is sacred to engage with personal development. I think it is a really holy place. Some people would say that personal development and personal growth is, why are you always pushing to get to the next space? And, why can't you just be happy where you are? And I think, yeah, totally, that is so true. And what a great way to show up for yourself and other people that you love by learning the lessons life is teaching you, by being attuned and aligned to what life is showing you. I think there is always something to be learning. And I think liminal space really supercharges that learning. And I do think that is sacred and holy. And I'm a bit esoteric, and you might not be into that, and that's totally fine. I'm just dipping my toe there. I'm just popping that there for those of us that are a little bit woo to think about, to engage with. Also, if you think of personal development as this really hard, big thing that I need to be pushing all of the time, what a way to reframe it, to think of it as sacred and holy. This thing that I get to do, not this thing that I have to do. That might be helpful for you. But back to this liminal space that I'm in. If this is the only teachable space, what is it that I'm learning? If you are also in a liminal moment right now, if you are moving house or changing careers or about to launch a podcast or you're about to give birth or you are on the precipice of adopting a child, then you might also be in liminal space. There's tons more of that. They're just a few that I'm mentioning. But what is it that you're learning? And I think that's the most important question to be asking ourselves in this space. What is it that I'm learning? Am I learning patience? Am I learning grace? Am I learning to grow my capacity? Am I learning that things are really tough, but I'm tougher? Am I learning that I can do this? Am I learning that I get frustrated really easily? And that is a bit ugly, but it is part of me. So I wonder what I can offer myself in that place. So there are all these different things that perhaps we could be learning. In fact, let me know what it is that you feel that you're learning. I am right in the midst. I don't even have a moving date anymore. I am right in the midst of learning how to make this work. How am I going to keep working in and amongst all these boxes when I am and my partner work from home? Interesting, a moment of growth. What does that look like? I'd love to hear from you. And I can't wait to share what these next few weeks, hopefully not months, of liminal space look like for me. But I just wanted to read a little excerpt from my blog post on liminal space because I think it could be helpful right now. Give me a moment. I've been thinking about that feeling where life pulls into focus, but there's a moment just before that when it feels a little blurry, where you can kind of see everything coming together, but it isn't together just yet. This is also known as liminal space, where we are betwixt and between the familiar and the completely unknown. There alone is our old world left behind while we are not yet sure of our new existence. This is a good space where genuine newness can begin. The last couple of months have felt a little like this for me, with one foot in the old and one foot in the new, stuck in between what was and what is about to be. Maybe it's felt like this for you too. Maybe it's felt like this for too long for you and you're growing weary. You can imagine liminal space as having one foot outside your front door and one foot still inside. It feels impossible to rest here. There are no chairs around. It's uncomfortable and it's awkward. For me, there has been so much change, and trying to locate solid ground has been more challenging as everything around me is moving at such a rapid pace. But this is also a place that is believed by many, including Richard Rohr, to be the only teachable space. I wonder if your eye roll was as loud as mine upon reading this infuriating piece of information. The only teachable space. Are you kidding? So whilst I'm wildly uncomfortable and feeling super awkward, you're now telling me that this is the only space to truly learn. Then I want to have a short but satisfying cry and demand that these uber wise mystics give me all the answers, as if that's a possibility. Nancy Levin invites us to honor the space between the no longer and the not yet. And even if it involves throwing your phone across the room before you finish this podcast, I invite you to do the same. What does it look like to honor the moment that you're in today? Can you honor the pain? Can you honor the loss? Can you honor the waiting? Can you honor yourself here, the home in which your soul resides, and notice how far you've come? I relate this deeply to when I was first diagnosed with a chronic illness I've now had for the past 10 years or so. It felt as though the life I thought I had built for myself was slipping through my fingers like grains of sand, and there was nothing I could do to change it. And there isn't. I'm not here with a quick fix, and if you're searching for that, I'm sorry I can't provide it for you. Honoring the pain seems counterintuitive. How could I possibly honor this thing that feels like it's killing me? And I'm not asking you to be thankful for it. Good grief, we don't do that around here. Praise be. But what I'm suggesting is see the pain, face the pain, hold the pain, and breathe. Honor yourself in this moment by controlling the only thing you've truly ever had control over, your breath. Maybe as you breathe, you'll notice all the ways that you've grown. Keep going. Deepen your self-awareness. Sometimes we can be so distracted by the what was, we can miss the what is. You're here right now. You're here right now. Perhaps in your honoring, I wonder, will you begin to learn something new, deeper, wiser, that you could only learn here in this place? As Tracy Ellis Ross says, may the space between where I am and where I want to be inspire me. May you find inspiration today, whatever that looks like. I wrote that a while ago, but I think it's so true today. I'm in liminal space because I'm moving house. And whilst there's frustration there that it's not going as quickly as I would like, it's not the only liminal space that exists. There is a lot of extremely painful liminal space that I wanted to hold some space for today. The liminal space of wanting to start a family, but not being able to. The liminal space of being really unwell and not knowing if or when you're going to get better. The liminal space of leaving a relationship that no longer is the right relationship for you. The liminal space of walking away from a job or a career because you know it's the right thing, but that feels really, really hard. And so as I was thinking about this bonus episode today and thinking about the liminal space that I find myself in, I just became so aware of the liminal space that a lot of us find ourselves in, that a lot of the world might be in right now. And I wanted to provide a space to feel held and known and seen and loved among all that displacement, amongst all that difficult, exhausting, painful space. I wanted to, hold some space for that. And remind you that you can do this. You are so capable. You have managed all of the other days, and you can manage this moment that you're in right now. And hey, whoa, maybe that just got really kind of deep. And look, we didn't know we were going to go that deep today. Maybe you just don't need that right now, but somebody might, and you might want to send this episode to somebody that you think could feel supported by it. Or there might be a time when you need to come back to this episode. But whatever version of liminal space you're in today, I hope that you know. But whatever version of liminal space that you're in today, I hope that you feel so seen, and I hope that you feel so held, and I hope that you take good and exquisite care of yourself. We are flying through this episode and we have not mentioned the Enneagram for a while. That's kind of concerning because I'm an Enneagram coach, right? I think all of us can experience liminality. Of course, what that looks like, how that comes out is going to shift massively depending on our type, depending on which Enneagram type that we are. And I wanted to maybe just touch on what that could look like for each of the Enneagram types. And I'm going to do that talking about the heart triad, the head triad, and the body triad, because that's what we've touched on so far this season in Guided. If you're in the body triad, liminal space is going to affect you. Liminal space is going to really push and shove that need for control and autonomy. So if you're a type 8, 9, or 1, if you're in the body triad, if you're in the anger triad, if you're not sure if you are or not, head back an episode, find out. These types are driven by their need for control and autonomy, okay? And so when we are not in a place to maybe affect that much change, when we don't have a ton of control over the situation, that is maybe going to come out in quite a body-centered, gut-centered, or angry way. And that could look like big, loud anger. That could look like passive, aggressive anger. That could look like frustration. I know it does for me as a type 1. Notice that when your body is answering for you, catch that. What is your body saying? What is your body trying to communicate? It sounds like your body's trying to communicate that maybe she, he, they needs some control. How can you gift yourself that today? It might not be in relation to the situation. It might be that you get to offer yourself some deep cleansing breaths. Oh, eye roll, I know. Try it, it might help. If you're in the heart triad, if you're a 2, 3, or 4, if you're in the feelings center, then liminal space might come out by being so attached to your emotions or the emotions of the room. So you might not know how you're truly feeling. You might be very, very attached to your own feelings. You might be very, very attached to the feelings of the people that you love or the people that you work with. And you're kind of outsourcing feelings to them. Or if you're a type 4, to sadness. If you're a type 4, you'll know what I mean. If that's true, if you are kind of living and dying and breathing and moving with the rest of the room, with your person, with the group of people that you feel really connected to, and you're not really checking in with yourself how you're feeling, maybe you are feeling angry, but who the heck would know? Because you're not spending the time to check in and notice how you yourself are feeling. That is maybe a sign to suggest that you need to take some time and take good care of yourself before you head back out and be part of that group, that workplace, that family, that friendship group, that community. What does it look like to check in? What does it look like to start each day and checking in with how you feel rather than being told how you should be feeling? And if you're in the head triad, if you're a 5, 6, or 7, if you're in the thinking center, then it probably looks like overthinking. It probably looks like looking at the minutiae of a situation, whether that is trying to, whether that is overthinking and overthinking and overthinking all the negative outcomes, or overthinking that you maybe don't have enough energy or enough capacity, or overthinking that you're missing out on something really fun because you're stuck in this place. It probably looks like overthinking if you're in this triad. And if you notice yourself ruminating, going over the same thing, your mind not really shutting up about how much you're missing out on and how it's really hard, you probably need to offer yourself some body-centered space. What do I mean there? I mean that when we're stuck in overthinking, it's really, really helpful to get into our bodies. And that would be my suggestion of handling liminal space with a little more ease and a little more grace. If you're not sure which of the triads you're in, head back to episode 4 for the feelings triad, head back to episode 5 for the thinking triad, and head back to episode 6, the episode just before this, for the body triad. And that should shed a bit of light on which triad you might be in. You can also take my free test, my free quiz. I think I mentioned it at the beginning of the episode. Who the heck would know? I've been talking for so long. That is linked in the show notes. You can also find out there. And you can DM me. You know that, always. I love to yap, clearly. Started a whole podcast so I could do more yapping in my day. Those would be my ways for you to really dive into liminality and engage with it from a really centered, whole place. Amazing. I hope that you've enjoyed this longer episode. I hope that you've got something helpful from it. I hope that if you haven't, maybe you'll send it to somebody who is in liminality or is looking to kill some time with a great yapper like me. I hope that you have a great rest of your day. And if this has stirred anything up for you, I'd love to know about it. You can find me on Instagram, you can find me on TikTok, you can find me on my website, you can find me here. I can't wait to hear from you. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you on Monday morning at 9 a.m. for the next episode of Guided. Take good care of yourself.